What up, KFMA Universe? It's another interview with Valdez. Today we have an awesome special guest. He's one of I look up to him. I've been following his career for a long time. He's gone by a lot of monikers. The Hispanic. What's the other?
The Red Mexican.
The Red Mexican. Me by saying that I
Chamaco
know
Travieso.
that one too.
Majadero. Condenado.
Mr. Alex Reymundo.
¿Qué pasa, Valdez?
What
What's
are
up,
you-
Raspy?
What's going on, man?
Andrew.
And that's right, like usual. Andrew's with us, Mr. Rasputin, the Chicano Rasputin.
Honored as usual.
Next time you guys see him, you gotta like comb his beard. It's majestic. So, Mr. Reymundo, what are you doing in town? What are you doing in beautiful Tucson?
Apparently, I'm homesteading here at the studio. I got here yesterday, and my tour bus hasn't left. I've been here 37 hours in the back now, and but I'm in town to do a show at the Casino Ballroom, historic place here for Tucson, Arizona, Saturday night, and it's gonna be fun. I don't know if you have tickets already. If you do, thank you. Y si no, agárralos.
And
It's
where
gonna be
can we
fun.
get those at?
You can get them at alexcomedy.com. If you don't want to pay the ticketing fees, which I do not instill there, that's just part of doing business. That you can go to, you can buy them personally in person at Nana's Kitchen, or you can just show up to the Casino Ballroom. I don't think you'll find anybody there until showtime, so you can still buy them at the door.
And
It's a big room, so we got room for you.
And
It's
to
a big room.
reiterate, what time is showtime?
Híjole, a las 8?
Okay.
A las 8. I said that like I wasn't sure. Let's
I
make
mean-
it 8. Let's make it 8.
Yeah.
Dude, we're
It's
not-
8 o'clock.
We're Chicanos. We don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
half of anything all the time. Like, where are you going to be at?
I just know that I'm supposed to walk on there when they say my name. That's what I know.
So,
But
are,
a las 8.
are
A
you
las 8.
straight up doing comedy, or is there an opening act for you?
Oh, there. You know what? I need an opening act. I keep forgetting. I haven't found some. I need to find a local Tucson comic. So if you're listening, do you do it? You do comedy?
I do. I do
Valdez?
stand up.
All right.
You know, and that's funny because we were just talking about that. I said I felt weird because a lot of the comics that I do shows with, they have notes and stuff, and I just go up and I just talk smack. I'm like Eminem from 8 Mile. I just like freestyle it. And I found out that's your process also, but you record your stuff.
I do record it because I need to study it later and try to get better. So how long you been doing stand up?
Oh man, at least a good 3-4 years.
Okay. All right. You got 10 minutes?
I can give you 30.
All right. I don't want 30.
Okay.
I don't want 30.
He's like, don't outshine me,
Get
bro.
the cane.
No. I just, well, hey, I feel like that one scene in Scarface. Hey, what about Ernie? Hey, Ernie, you want a job? Yeah, thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're down. You're on.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, there's one rule though.
Okay.
No, you can't suck. These
Oh.
people are paying money. They're
That's
paying
a-
top dollar
okay.
to get in.
That's a good rule.
And you know, don't tell me you can do it if you can't do it.
Okay.
I have respect for
Now
you.
the pressure's on.
Your mom made me something to eat, bro.
Oh, that's right.
Gracias, mami. She made me something to eat. Hijo está comiendo bien, Alex. I just love that she thought about
That
me.
was hilarious because I go and I asked him, I was like, hey, you guys have a big yard? Because he's wondering where he could park his bus for a while. And I was like, oh, my parents have the compound. That's where I keep my wrestling ring. So I go over there, I drop over at
You
their
have a
house.
wrestling ring?
What a
Dude,
sentence.
I love it. Okay.
So I left law enforcement and became an actor, a comedian, and a pro wrestling referee. And
You're a cop
sometimes-
too?
I was.
All
Can you
right.
believe that,
Mad
man?
respect. Mad respect. I'm down.
So yeah, and
I'm a robber. No, I'm not. No, I'm not a robber.
I saw your badge.
I do have a badge.
Well, yeah, my mom, I was like, Alex Reymundo, can he park his bus here if he needs to be? And she's like, oh, he's on tour. I'm like, yeah. Has he eaten? I was like, he's a grown-ass man. I'm pretty sure he's eaten. And she's like, but real food? Like, has he had, like, homemade stuff? I'm like, I don't know, man.
She
So,
sent me a plate.
yeah, she
That's
sent
awesome.
him
I love her.
enchiladas
That's
with
awesome.
her famous rice. And thank you, Mama Valdez. Alex
Gracias,
enjoys
mami.
it.
Gracias, Mama Valdez. Yeah. So come out, everybody. Come out to see me on Saturday and see Valdez. See 10 minutes. He's going to have fun, and then I'll take it over from there, and we'll be drinking plenty of number Juan tequila. And if I will be speaking the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth according to me. It is not PC, so don't come in there whining and crying about the things I say, because I don't even know what I'm going to say, all of it. But it's going to be funny. It's going to be funny.
I guarantee you, he's hilarious. Your first like huge gig was the original Latin's Kings of Comedy, correct?
Yeah, that's what gave me national visibility. Absolutely. Before that, I'd been doing stand up all across the country for, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, and I stepped into Los Angeles because everybody said you got to go to LA or New York if you're going to pursue this, at some other level. And I went to the Laugh Factory, which I think to this day does a Latino night on Monday night. And at the time, they were doing 2 shows on a Monday night, packed. And I remember moving to Hollywood thinking, because I was a fairly decent road comic at that time, and I remember thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna go take over Hollywood. It's gonna be cool. Because one friend of mine named Tim Wilson, may he rest in peace, great comic. He goes, let me tell you about Alex Reymundo. Alex Reymundo go to Hollywood, take Lou Diamond Phillips' job. Anyway, so I had these dreams that I was gonna go to Hollywood, right? And I get there, and on that Monday night, dude, I saw Jeff Garcia, Willie Barcena, Felipe Esparza, Pablo Francisco, Freddie Soto, Gilbert Esquivel, Darren Carter, who's a ginger, but he's every bit Latino, Joey Medina, and I remember sitting in the back of the room, and other names too. I can't remember everybody who was there. I remember sitting in the back and thinking, okay, it's going to take a little longer than I thought, and but Paul Rodriguez was there too, and he looked at me and goes, hey, you're kind of funny with that Latino hillbilly thing going on. You're kind of different. And he asked me to go do a show with him in Toledo, Ohio, and he paid me more than I'd ever been paid to do 20 minutes, and he took care of the airfare, the hotel, all that stuff. I was like, all right. Next thing I knew, I was doing a string of shows with Paul. And next thing I knew, Joey was doing them with it. And Paul has always been very gracious with his stage and shares it with everyone. And there were compilations of shows that a bunch of us, and I ended up I hosted those back in the day, the Three Amigos, which was Paul Rodriguez, George Lopez, and Carlos Mencia.
That's right.
And I got to host a few of those shows. And so that just kind of kept happening. And then at one time, the Kings of Comedy came out, which was Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and who am I missing there?
Cedric.
Anyway,
the
there were 4
host of Family Feud. Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey, Cedric, Bernie Mac. How did I forget
right,
Bernie Mac? Bernie Mac. And Paul saw that happen. He said, we need to do the Latin Kings, bro. And he wasn't talking to me. He was just talking out loud. And, of course, the Latin Kings of Comedy was George, Cheech, and Paul. And I think it was about 8 or 9 of us got an invitation to go to El Paso, and we all got to film young comics. But he let us know. He said, only 2 of you are going to make the cut. And me and Joey, for whatever reasons may be, we made the cut, and then the Latin Kings came out and then gave me that platform to have more fun for the rest of my life. Thank you, Paul Rodriguez. Scott Montoya. Yeah, it's cool. It's been a fun ride.
And Paul's correct. Your type of comedy is unique. It's relatable as a Latino or Chicano, but also it has that spin on it because not all of us grew up in that traditional way where, I have a Theo, he grew up in Portland, Oregon, doesn't speak Spanish, but he's as dark as me. He's got that mustache. He looks like Nacho Libre. And,
Sometimes men wear stretchy pants.
all the paisas in our family go and talk to him in Spanish. He has no clue what they're saying.
Yeah.
He knows how to hunt and fish and do all that.
We all have a different experience in life, right? No matter what color, shape, or size or gender you are. I hope you figured that last part out. But whatever you are, we all have our unique story. And if you're going to do stand-up comedy, you need to tell your story. That's what I always try to just encourage comics to do. And I've been around a lot of great ones. I grew up in the same comedy club doing amateur nights with Ron White. The comics I used to see come through there were Jeff Foxworthy, Bill Engvall, T.P. Mulrooney, J. Scott Holman. Some names people will probably never know on the bigger scale. But I was influenced by each and every one of them in certain ways. But what you do have to do is tell your own story. If you tell your story, and be honest about it, no one can take that perspective. I mean, we can all do bits about going to the airport. And sometimes you may do that, but tell your story. Tell your story, and I think people will relate. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm doing a show wherever, USA, and either a Latino man with a white girl or a white man with a Latina girl will come up and say, hey, we're you. And they're right. And I grew up in the South, so that's why I sound this way. Pero soy mexicano, no se le olviden. Yo soy mexicano de Acapulco, México. Hablo español perfecto, yo creo, ¿verdad? And I can switch languages back and forth. So I can only tell it from my perspective. But to you, my friend, I recommend tell your perspective, record your shows, so you can study it later, and the ultimate rule is don't suck. Don't suck. People always try to wish you luck right before. Hey man, good luck. Break a leg. Don't. I always say. As a matter of fact, I think it's a jinx. I go, don't wish me luck. And they're like, what do you mean? I say don't suck. And literally they're calling my name, and they're like, what? I go, say it. And they're like, don't suck. I'm like, thank you. And I run on the stage, because that is clear direction. That's telling me what I want to avoid at all costs. And sometimes it happens, even at this stage, You just never know when that set's coming around the corner that wakes you up to, hey, maybe I got to shake things up a little different.
Yeah, that's true. A nice little wake-up call. Especially when you tell a joke and it's just nothing but crickets. And you're like, okay, that didn't work. Let me make a mental note of that one.
I'm a big believer when things happen, if we don't recognize it, then the audience does, and then they're uncomfortable. They're like, does he not notice that was bad, or that was, it flies. If you see something and Paul taught me a lot of that. He'll walk up, and the first 5 or 7 minutes is about what's been happening, which is a great talent to have, to be observant and then speak of it and throw it out there. It's like what you were talking about Eminem. He took all that ammo away from that guy when he rapped about himself. Now what? Now what you got? And anyway, so have fun.
I feel fortunate, especially like my generation and younger, because now we have a whole catalog of Latino comics,
you really do,
female and male. When I remember early in my youth, I remember it was only like Paul Rodriguez, and then George Lopez came up. Then little by little, Gabriel Iglesias, yourself. You guys started coming out. So now there's like a whole buffet of Latino comics that we could look up to. So when you were a kid, who did you look up to in the comedy world?
Well, I wanted to be an entertainer. I looked up to Elvis because he had a lot of chicks, and I just wanted to play music. And most of my family are musicians, and I'm not bad, but I don't have that discipline, and I just was fortunate enough to stumble into comedy. But as I knew comedy, Richard Pryor, of course, Red Fox, Bill Cosby, Howie Mandel because he was silly, George Carlin just because of his word choices. I was just so amazed. But I also just loved Howie Mandel. I remember I'd smoked a joint in his 10th grade, and my brother had his first apartment. We were in his apartment. We were getting high, and we watched a Howie Mandel HBO special, and I just couldn't believe how silly he was, and I was just dying laughing because he was great, and the pot was even better. But I just remembered, hey, there's a silly side. There's a Carlin that is just, again, a wordsmith, but I remember the first time I saw Paul Rodriguez on television, I remember thinking, there's a dude that doesn't look like me, but he resembles me. He represents my take. I remember the first time I heard him say "te sales," I'd heard that phrase in my house, and so I was very connected. And that's another thing. When I first got to that Laugh Factory, that's another thing I was so impressed with. All those great names that I mentioned, and there were plenty that I didn't mention that were there, but I was impressed at all the different takes on Latino life. And I'm sure that when they looked at me, they went, "Who's this guy? Where did he come from?" I remember a girl sitting as close as you are to me, Raspy, right now. She's sitting next to her boyfriend, and I'm up there just telling my jokes about whatever I'd said. And she leans into it, she goes, and I hear her. She goes, "This guy, he kind of talk kind of funny." And I was like, "I talk funny? You got an accent. You were born in L.A. You got an accent. I don't have one." And actually, I do. But you just got to be you. You got to be you, and you're right. A lot of young Latino comics. I watched a little kid the other day. I was in Houston. I was doing a promo for the show that we're going to do Saturday night. It was a place called Mama Rita's restaurant. We're serving the tequila, and I'm sitting there talking to people, going table to table, just meeting and greeting, and being thankful that they want to see me. And I look up, and there's this kid. He looks like he's literally 16. And I look at him, and I said, I thought maybe he's a busboy, but he was dressed up, and I was like, "Hi," and he goes, "Hi." I said, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "I'm here to meet you." I said, "Oh, you are?" I said, "Oh, well, I'm Alex." And dadgummit, I'll pull up his name. Dadgummit, Melton, yeah, Holden. His name was Holden. Okay. Yeah, his name's Holden. And of course, how many times was he teased by his buddies in junior high? Oh yeah. Yeah, hey, Holden my this, hey, Holden my that. But I said, "You're here to meet me?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm a young stand-up comic." And I thought, wow, this kid, he couldn't buy a ticket to the show, and it wasn't a regular comedy club. So anyway, so he came to this thing just to meet me and say, hey. So I sat and talked with him for a little while. Really sharp kid, and his mom and dad showed up there. They were at a table, and I was like, impressive. He was half Latino and half French. Real good looking kid. And at the end of the thing, I went, hey, Holden, you want to do 5 minutes on the show on Saturday? I already had an opening act. His eyes got so big, and because you know what, I gave him that opportunity because he had taken the time to work on his craft, which was coming to meet a guy like me or anybody else. And I just thought, here's a kid who I had no idea what I was doing at 16. Ask the girls. I had no idea, but I just was impressed with that. So I gave him, and guess what? He shined. He came up there. He went on that stage. He had a presence that was unbelievable. He had a couple really funny lines, and then he made a couple. I didn't say that bad word. I tried to say couple. Anyway, he made a couple mistakes. He made a couple, but I told him record, and he recorded, and he pointed out to me, and he made fun of his grandma on stage. Which, by the way, she came to the show. I roasted his grandma. I let him know how he earned that gig from her hard work, which was a ball because I kind of just took the torch that he had lit about his grandma. He was just saying how fun she was, but he kind of made it risque. And she was easily a part of my show 8 times that night. And so mad props to that kid for seeing an opportunity, and props to Paul for giving it to me and all the guys that did. And I feel like I got to pay that forward.
I was going to say thank you for paying it forward, because even that moment for Holden, he sees the opportunity. He made the most out of it. And
we're friends now. We've texted back and forth.
There you go. And you gave him that chance, where this in the entertainment business, whether it's pro wrestling or whatever. There's some people who are out to just make the newbies' lives a living hell.
There's a-holes everywhere you go.
And then there's some guys like you who are mentors who will say, hey, these are the cheat codes basically to success. And, we thank guys like you and women like you because you guys are so helpful. And speaking of which, I did 13 years of law enforcement. When I left, I couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, what do I do to help my community? So I cashed out all my retirements, and I put on a stand-up show to benefit 2 nonprofits that I felt so near and dear of. But what's funny, that comes full circle, because also in the studio is Kayla from Metalachi. We had an
awesome. She's awesome. I watched your jam this morning. I've listened to music. Oh my God, you're awesome.
So your Payaso Comedy Slam really resonated with me when I first saw it, and it was always in the back of my mind because I remember you gave an intro where you explained what a payaso was.
Right.
But it was so heartfelt, and you were like a professor. You were explaining it. Then the opening number was the theme song. And there was
I had to dance. I had to learn to dance to do that. Yeah, I had to dance. And you know what? And I got to give props to where that came from. That came from the producer and director, Scott Montoya, who was at one time Paul's manager and my manager and Joey's manager. And he put, after he did our specials, I mean, he didn't just, he probably put, I'm not lying, probably easily 65 comedy specials on Showtime and all types of networks where he could get them. But that was all Paul. That was all Scott saying, hey, I think we should describe what this is and give some history. And I was like, yeah, of course. And I was into it. But I remember when he said, okay, in the beginning, you're going to do this dance with us. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I want you to dance. I said, what? You want me to dance? He goes, you're going to wear a mask. And I was like, orale, I'll wear the mask. I'll wear a mask and I'll dance.
That's right.
And I've actually had to be, hey, man, pretty good dancer. I got those professional dancers I was with.
Yeah, you could tell.
And speaking of violin, señorita, I don't know if you know, on my first special, Hispanic, at the end of it, there were some troubling times in America at that time, which, hey, guess what's magnified today? But I don't know why I was inspired. I think I was at a radio station somewhere, and someone said something, and I said something back, and the dude was like, dude, that's pretty deep thought there. And when I left, I just I'd never written any poetry, and something just regurgitated from me, and I thought it was pretty cool. And I did it one night on stage, and the people really, and I did it at the very end, and I think I set it up by saying, I hope I made you laugh tonight, and they all were cheering. I said, now I hope I make you think. and I had them freaking dim the lights right there, and I played it to some Beethoven or Mozart or something. I had that playing in the background, and I recited the poem, and man, people were moved by it. So on the special, I did it, but of course I couldn't use that music. So I had I can't remember the dude's name on an electric violin, and he's in the back. Huh? I don't know. He's I don't remember anymore. It was so long ago, but he is a badass. Electric blue violin, and he was on this podium, and it's a pretty moving little piece. The poem was called "Do You Hear Thunder?" And after that, I was inspired to write a few more things. Anyway, it's kind of fun.
And coming back to that, so that Payaso Comedy Slam inspired me, where I put on a show for these two nonprofits, and
Right.
one of them is the Esperanza Dance Company, and they tour schools and they do intense dances to raise awareness about childhood sexual abuse. So I made an opening dance number that was fun, where I got Metalachi's version and fused it with they did Crazy Train.
Nice.
I fused it with Ozzy's Crazy Train. So I had half Locorico dancers, half these Esperanza dancers doing like an 80s thing, and they're going back and forth.
Oh, awesome.
And that was the opening number, and I showed the people this is why we're here. But it was inspired because of you.
Well,
and
that's great
I
to hear.
even like reached out to your agent, but you were already booked because I wanted you to headline. We ended up getting Bobby Slayton, and I got locals to
great.
open up. It was the hardest work I ever did because I did
You produced
everything.
a show. You produced a show.
And I didn't even I did everything, and I forgot to write material, so I just winged it when I went up there and hosted. But here I am full circle with a
Oh,
member
all
of
right. We're both in the
Metalachi,
studio with
and
you.
then you're here, so it's kind of like, to me, it's like a special moment. And I'm sorry to like fangirl, make it all deep, but
No, that's
you
great.
guys being here, it's just I never thought I would be.
Hey, you know
on
what? The
radio
Lord
or
blesses
later,
us
so.
in many, many, many different ways, and we've got to give that back. I mean, we're here to inspire. I was inspired, by Elvis, by Ricky Ricardo, or Desi Arnaz. I was inspired by, obviously Paul Rodriguez, George Carlin. I was inspired by, anyone that I saw on TV doing their thing, and we're supposed to give it back. We're.
Is that why Andrew inspires me every day?
Yeah.
I try.
I just, sometimes I'll go talk to kids in school, and I don't do any of my comedy. My comedy's for adults, but I can talk to kids about finding confidence in themselves and in the path to, chasing your dreams. So the mad props to you for doing that, because that means a lot. It means a lot.
And you put the blueprint, so thank you. I really
Oh.
appreciate it. And it would have been awesome if you weren't booked already to have you headline, but we could always do the next installment.
Absolutely.
We can do.
Just call my agent. He won't call you back. No.
So what's
Call me directly.
what's on the horizon for Mr. Reymundo?
I'm glad
what's
you
got
asked
going
that.
on?
Okay, so I've been. By the way, everybody, my last special was a minute ago, right? And I'll probably do another special this year. I was gonna shoot one when the pandemic interrupted it. I was actually going into Phoenix for 8 months every last Sunday of the month, and going to a little club called Stir Crazy, where they feature great talent on the last Sunday, and I would close each show with a different 20. And by the way, I would always do like 45, just trying to play with anything I could think of, and I was just trying to build material for a special I wanted to shoot, and then of course it was all interrupted by the pandemic, and so that kind of faded. And then when we got started again, it's like, was that even funny anymore? Now there's so much more to talk about, and so many different things.
So much has happened.
And so I'm working on all that stuff now. But throughout all of that, back in 2013, I started my little tequila company, Number Juan Tequila, and I am the president of that. I own and operate it, and so it takes a lot of my time. If I'm not on that stage or on my way to a stage, I'm doing something that has to do with Number Juan Tequila, which is weird that I have this many jobs, but I'm Mexican, so and I kind of have to always blend the two. I want to be able to make sure I can have a drink of tequila wherever I go, and it just happens, in my opinion, it is the best that's out there, and I urge you to taste it, because I promise you're going to think the same thing. At least 9 out of 10.
And where can we purchase this at?
In Arizona, you can go to Nana's Kitchen here in Tucson. They're
Nice.
selling by the bottle. You can also buy it by the drink and have an amazing meal while you're there. You can go to Total Wine and More the locations all across the country and in Arizona as well. Any Walgreens liquor store, not all states have those. Arizona does. You can buy it there. And I think by the month of April, you can find us in Bevmo here in Arizona. But through all that, I told myself, I said, man, I got to. And again, no one came to me and Ron White and said, would you start this tequila company? Would you put your name on it? It's us. It's us. We are the majority owners, and it's our baby. And if it succeeds, it's going to be because the tequila is amazing, but because of our efforts. And we're now in 40 states. But I told myself, I said, I got to do something. So I'm so bad at social media, but I've made a commitment to I'm going to try to journal everywhere I go, because I've been fortunate that for 33 years I've been able to do 120 shows a year, except for in 2020. Thanks, China. But I've been able to do that, and so I said, you know what? I bought the tour bus because I'm going to drive, or I'm going to be driven, or sometimes I do the driving to where I'm going, and I want to show America, and all the beautiful things that I've discovered, every city, every stop on the way, and I'm going to have a drink with everybody, and we're going to be on a streaming television channel called RTH TV. It's my own comedy channel,
Nice.
and I've got to fill it with content. Maybe we'll get Metalachi on there.
I was gonna say, no
You know?
violinist.
But it's RTH TV. Any Android or iPhone, you just look up the app on your computer or your smart TV, look up RTH TV. You're not going to see the On Comedy channel yet, but you're going to see, they probably have 30 different channels that you can see different things. So that's what's new. And I'm going to be documenting almost like Anthony Bourdain,
Okay.
Parts Unknown crossed with the David Tell Insomniac,
Oh,
and
that's a
a
good one.
tequila in my hand,
There
and
you go.
I just want to have a drink with America. I really do.
So I know you've probably been asked this like a million times, but what makes your tequila stand out from the rest?
The fact that they're artists that make it, they do not compromise integrity for mass production. If I was to go in there tomorrow and tell them, it'd be a great idea if you infuse this with peanut butter, they'd be like, get out. That's not what we do. We make amazing tequila the way our ancestors did. They're a small batch place. We make a blanco, a reposado. They make an añejo. I don't have it in the U.S. yet. I have an extra añejo, but we will introduce the añejo this year. And because they don't compromise. They don't compromise. The plants that they grow are 7 to 8 years until they reach that level of sugar content that they want. And if they don't reach the level, they have a way of measuring. They sell those plants to other distilleries.
Okay.
And so and then when they harvest that field, they literally let it sit dormant to let the soil recoup. Not mass producers. Mass producers keep planting. Mass producers are now pulling plants at 3 and 4 and 5 years, it's horrible. But because they don't have the sugar content, then they have to run them through a diffuser, which is a dirty secret in tequila. Then they have to add colorings and flavorings. Our tequila is 100. And by the way, you can still call it 100% agave if you do some of those cheating methods. We don't. They don't. And that's what I love about them, because they're artists. If I even suggested anything to them about how to change what they're making, it'd be like if someone that makes tequila tried to tell me how to write a joke or tell a story. I'd be like, no.
Let the experts handle that.
Yeah, and I'm just the guy that gets to share it. I literally drank their tequila and said, was not there to own a company. I said, that's the best tequila I've ever had in my life. All 4 expressions, hands down. And then I asked, and Ron said, that's the best drink of liquor I've ever had. He was very famous for drinking scotch. And then I just asked the question. I said, ¿Cómo se llama en los Estados Unidos? Where can I drink this? I'm a comedian. I drink tequila on stage. I'd love to drink your tequila. In Mexico, it's called Regalo de Dios. Gift from God, everybody. If you don't know that, learn Spanish.
You're in America.
You're
learn
in
Spanish.
America. Anyway, I when he told me that they didn't have a U.S. presence, I could hear my father from the grave saying, no seas pendejo.
Yeah.
And I acquired the rights, and we brought it to the U.S. in 2013, like some of my cousins. And we're now in 40 states.
Wow.
We're in 40 states. Isn't that unbelievable?
You're taking over,
from
man.
a little dream that we had. But we're still not a national brand. We're we're in Tucson, but we're not in every bar, obviously. And by the way, if you're listening and you have a bar and you can get it at Nana's, you can get it at Contigo. You'll soon be able to drink it at Elliott's in downtown.
That's a popular
what's the
spot.
golf course that has the barbecue place? I think it's Catalina Barbecue. They're going to carry it. So these are early supporters in Tucson. Thank you so much. And by the way, if you got a bar, Pick it up. Buy a bottle.
I've
And drink it yourself, and then tell me if you want to, because you got a great story. Alex Reymundo and Ron White brought this, and one of the blue collar boys and one of the Latin kings of comedy, who just happened to be not, I wouldn't say we're best friends, but he's one of my best friends, and he married my sister for a little while.
Oh, there you go. So
don't mess up that part of this. We've always been brothers. We started in the same comedy club. The first 4 years of our careers, we traveled back and forth in my truck or his, and that's when no one knew our names. And don't mess up the story. It's true. We were related by matrimony for a little while, but he married my sister. People always go, "I thought you married Ron's sister," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, Ron's sister looks like Ron." Hey, no quieres eso, okay? Ron, when he heard me do that joke the first time, he goes, "Hey." I said, "Ron, I'm just saying I don't want to sleep with you." He goes, "Okay." "Hey." Hey.
So I sorry to be a nerd and get back to the tequila, but you know how marijuana has certain strains with like seeds and stuff? Does the agave plant have like a certain strain? Is there like one plant strain that you might want to make like a higher class tequila out of, or is it all the same?
No, that's a little deep question for me. It's where agave is what you're looking for. I mean, the mezcal plant, they make it from different types of plants, I believe. I saw a chart the other day that had, I don't know, like 30 different kinds, and I was like, okay, no, agave or tequila is made out of agave, and but there's lowlands, there are highlands. We're a lowland tequila, which means we're more earthy than floral. We're not as sweet, which I prefer, and it all comes down to that plant. I mean, it takes 7 years for that plant to even consider being mature enough to take the agave and make tequila with it, which is just a beautiful thing. That's
if you're harvesting at 3 and 4 years, you're grossly like speeding up the process, which you're not getting a quality product.
An agave plant should be as tall as that doorway. When they take them at 3 years, they're as tall as shorter than the chair you're sitting in.
So there's no way you're getting a quality tequila out of that.
To use a bad word that is an ugly word, which is how ugly this is. It's like rape. It's taking something that is not near ready to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Enjoyed. And it's sad because my bottle is shaped after the heart of the agave, which is called the piña. When you take one of those out of the ground, they're the size of a coffee table.
Wow.
They're big and they're heavy, and they cut them in half. But the ones that they take at 3 and 4 years, they look like a football, and you're like, how are you?
That's a baby. That's not ready for anything.
That's not ready for anything. And not everybody does that, but you can find out who does. And Number Juan Tequila does not. There's no diffusers. There's no artificial colorings or flavors. And then again, that's not me. That's the guys over there.
And if I heard you correctly, you're having a conversation. You guys age the tequila in different barrels, correct?
Yes. Every distiller can age. The reposado of the category is 3 to 9 months in whatever barrel you choose. Everyone chooses different types of barrels. Our reposado is really unique. It's 3 barrels, 2 French barrels, 1 American barrel, a full 9 months. Again, mass producers, cuando llega 3 meses, when it gets to 3 months, reposado, get it out of there, let's go. We got tequila to sell. This is a full 9 months in 3 separate barrels, and then we blend those 3 full-bodied reposados together to make one, which is just magic, which goes, in my opinion, toe-to-toe against anybody's añejo. And then they choose to do their añejo and their extra añejo in just the bourbon barrel. So it tastes different. My 3 tequilas, when you look at them side by side, they look different. One's white, one's a golden color, and one's a brown, like a whiskey. And they taste, the profiles taste different. But what's consistent in all 3 of them is you taste beautiful agave, because that Blanco bottle is so gorgeous, and the buzz on all of them is exactly the same.
Let me tell you, Rasputin, it's smooth, man. It
never
so
offends.
Smooth.
It never offends.
It's like Barry White on like weed smooth. Like he's just
it's nice. I live in Louisville,
man.
Kentucky, and I am opening the eyes of many bourbon drinkers. They go, oh, because that extra añejo bottle tastes like a bourbon, but it never has that bite. And then they get that. And I got to tell you, anybody, when you're introduced to a tequila buzz, the agave buzz, it's a stimulant. Everything else you drink is a depressant. It lowers blood sugar. It lowers cholesterol. It's gluten-free. It's got probiotics. I don't even know what those are.
I need to start drinking tequila.
Yeah,
man.
I don't even know what probiotics are, but apparently I like them a lot.
They're not amateur biotics. They're probiotics.
Yeah, they're probiotics.
They know what they're doing.
The only thing tequila has ever been known to increase the population. That's it. That's all. It's good for.
No, I hate to fangirl on you, but Freddie Soto was one of my favorite
he's the
comics.
greatest.
I loved him to death.
So great.
I never met him. I
May
never
rest
got
in
to
peace.
know him. Yeah, and I was sad when I found out he passed. Like, it hurt me because I'm like, I didn't even know him, but it shouldn't hurt. Did you ever get to work with him? And if you did, what was he like?
He was a lot of fun. He was a lot of energy. I didn't get to work with him that much because we were young comics, and I discovered him in that scene at the Laugh Factory, and I just remember going, man, this guy's hilarious. But again, everybody was, and they all had a different take, and his was fun. His was a fun take on his dad.
I loved his so much because his relationship with his dad is what I have with my dad, and the same things his dad would yell at him about. That's what I would get
You know
yelled
what was
at.
great about him is the passion he put into anything he was talking about.
Yes.
That was really, really fun, and yeah, he was one of the greats. Unfortunately, taken away way too soon. But he left his mark. I mean, good luck. God, he's been gone 20 years,
and we're still talking.
And
about
we're
him.
still talking about him.
Rest in paradise.
Me and Joey got to do the Tempe Improv the week, following when he passed away, and I believe, if I'm correct, he's an Arizona boy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so in the marquee said, it was homage to Freddie Soto, which was, I still have a photo of that, when we were there, and yeah, mad props. And if I remember correctly, he had just had a child.
Yeah.
Yep.
I believe a daughter.
Well, God bless you, darling. God bless you.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I could just sit here all day and talk to you, man. Like, it's been a deep pleasure. Thank you for everything. Thanks for all your years of service, of, making people happy. I can't thank you enough. Rasputin, do you got anything to say, man?
Where's the tequila?
Oh.
I put it back on the bus. Let's have a drink.
Well, that's it. KFMA University, you got all the information.
Come join us Saturday. We'll drink all you want.
Yeah, come join. Yes.
Hell yes.
And if you put some in your beard and then you suck it on later, you can have like tequila beard. It's like a little.
Yeah, that's not something Number One Tequila endorses right there, but you know what I've had to do? I had to quit telling people how to enjoy my tequila. I know how I enjoy it. I like it neat. I keep my Blanco bottle in the freezer. But we also sponsor a lot of bands. We do things with bands, and because I love rock and roll,
I know a band.
Well, I know, right? But there's a band called Shallow Side out of Dothan, Alabama. Just some Southern boys making great music, and I dug those guys, and we started working with them, and they would drink my Reposado with Mountain Dew.
Nice.
And it just turned my stomach to see them do it. But you know what? That's how they want it.
God, that sounds like college.
It sounds like a headache. By the way, if you drink tequila, my tequila straight, everybody, just drink a water every once in a while. You're not going to get headaches. It's the artificial sugar that gets you. But you know what? That's the way they wanted it. That's the way they enjoyed it. Who am I to tell them no?
Yeah. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Saturday, go see them at
Sábado,
the
come see me, Tucson,
Ballroom.
Arizona. Show up. Tickets are available. And we even put it's a classic venue, celebrating their 75th anniversary, the Casino Ballroom. James Brown played that room.
Bro, like 80% of the Latino culture here in Tucson,
they have to know where it is.
There.
They've had a quince, they've had a wedding.
I think my mom's quince was there.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And I thought I saw her name on the wall. But that's why I chose to go there. It's a little, I've played the Rialto, I've played the Fox, I've played the Desert Diamond, I've played Casino del Sol, and this was just a last minute thing in that room. Fred over there he called me, he said, "I would be an honor to have you there." And so we're doing it, and because I know times are tough, I even one of the tickets is $15.
What?
I made it to it. There's a $40 for the VIP, $25 for the tables, but it's just a seat, which is still going to be great. It's $15. I made it. I really wanted to give you no reason that you can't come.
And $5, and you can listen outside.
Yeah, that's right. For $5, you can wash my bus. No. Come have fun, because you know what? I genuinely love people, and I love having fun with you, and that's what I came to do, Tucson.
I mean, we planned out your weekend for you. Metalachi tonight.
Right? I'm going to Metalachi.
Alex tomorrow. High five Rasputin when you see him. Twiddle his beard. Good times, KFMA family.
Like I said, I don't endorse that last part, but whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Reymundo, man, as always.